a singer. He looked down at little Lester, as they say, like a duchess looks at a bed bug. And I thought he might crumple him up. But yeah, the Groucho was great at interplaying with whoever was on the show. He proposed marriage to Truman Capote. And similar things.
My segues are horrible. Bill, I'm going to go cut back to you. Because Dick mentioned Alexander Woollcott, and I wanted to hear if you had any great stories about Harpo kind of getting plucked by Alexander Woollcott after he saw I'll Say She Is on Broadway, and kind of put into this world of the Algonquin Round Table and friends with Kaufman and Dorothy Parker. What was he doing there? How did he get there?
He never knew. He really didn't, and I think it was the concern of Groucho, who really wanted to be an acknowledged playwright, an acknowledged author. He did a lot of writing. That it was Groucho that was not accepted into that forum, but it was Harpo, who was a very, very literate guy, but the reason why they loved him so much is because he was the only one at the table that would listen. Everybody else was trying to top one another, you know, at the table, and Dad got his education there. He got his literary education, and Woollcott knew of Dad's child, that inner child in Dad, and loved to play games and loved to have Harpo around. And he would have Harpo everywhere until the brothers one day decided to go out to Hollywood and hit the movies. And that just crushed Woollcott. His playmate was gone. And he never really forgave Dad for that. But the brothers came out to the coast, and of course Groucho finally started to get a little bit of literary acclaim with his letters to T.S. Eliot, and he wrote a couple of books, and he kind of felt pretty good about that. But Dad was really a person that everybody came to. It's like the kids and the animals. They would come to. In his book, Harpo Speaks, it's not about name dropping. It's that they came to him. They wanted his attention because they knew he would give them a laugh, and they also knew that it was a learning experience. Everything from Woollcott to George Bernard Shaw, to people wanted to know this curious man who never got out of his first childhood. Interesting guy, and I can only say in front of the audience here, I'm not deitizing him. I'm just telling you, he's as great a human being as I've ever met in my entire life. He had a clear channel to who he was, and he operated on impulse, and he didn't hurt anybody, and he died without an enemy.
He's not the only great man who ever lived. We got Dick Cheney.
Famous in the Bay Area.
Do people still say, "Could your dad really talk?"
Oh, could he? Yes, as a matter of fact, and we listened when he did, because basically he was a pretty quiet guy. But when he had something to say to the 4 children that he adopted, we listened. We listened very carefully. And in my audiobook, which is available on Amazon.
Same Amazon?
That same Amazon, not the Nile. I do a very, very good intimation of him and his voice. I got his cadence down great, and I sound very close to what he sounded like, because there's hardly anybody here living on this planet that either remembers or ever knew what he sounded like.
On that very subject,
okay.
2 people posing as authorities have told me each of them has told me there's a place you can hear his voice.
Yes, you can.
One of them is the Ed Sullivan Show. Do you know what I'm saying? That Ed forgot a line, of course. in doing a bit back and forth, and that if you add the gain, as they say, to one point where Ed goes blank, you can hear sotto voce, Harpo say, "She came back," or whatever the line is, throwing it to Ed. And Ed says, "Oh, she came back." That's the one I've heard. And the other one is a bit I saw on Turner Classic. We're going into a movie premiere, I think in London. He turns back to the camera and goes, "Da-da-da-da-da-da," or something like that. Are those the ones?
Yeah, they're out there. And they're out there, but he was offered a great deal of money at one time to say one word on network television, and he turned it down because he felt that he would be violating the trust of his audience, and he had created this character, and he would stay with it. And people to this day wonder if he can talk or what did he sound like.
Well, Bill, can you channel and give us a taste?
Well, he would say words like turkey in an Upper East Side accent, and it was about an octave lower than Groucho's, and lower, yeah. And he would say words like turkey. He would say it as if it was spelled T-E-H-Y,
Yes.
K-E-Y, turkey. Turkey, hamburger, liver waste, and his pals, his entertainment guys were, like George Gershwin, Jerome Kine, K-E-H-Y-N. Everybody, I want you all to say Jerome Kine the way Harpo would say it. Jerome Kine. He sounded exactly like you guys.
And people mistakenly literated O-I as if he said toiki, and they're always wrong. And I took a line to Groucho once, and he read it through, and he said, "Needs a Zeitner." I said, "I'm sorry?" I said, "It needs a Zeitner. It should be, your Zeitner could have fooled me."
Well, do we have some questions from the audience for Bill and Dick? Right, sir, you shot right up there.
Don't ask who's been my best guess.
What role did anti-Semitism play in their career?
What role did anti-Semitism play in their career?
Next.
Well, they were hugely involved in Israel and did a number of UJA fundraisers, and I will tell you that none of them were traditional Jews. They didn't go to synagogue or anything. I mean, there wasn't time in the day. But my dad had an opportunity to go to Israel in 1961, first time he'd ever been there. And he says, "You know, when I walked down the street in Tel Aviv, I felt like a Jew. It's the first time in my life that I really felt Jewish." And he understood the meaning. He was we were talking a little bit earlier about religion, and as far as I'm concerned, my dad had religious principles and religious behavior, but he was not a practicing Jew. None of the brothers were, but needless to say, they worked with Ben Hecht to raise money for arms for Israel when they turned over there. So they were always very much aware of the Jewish predicament.